they're going to be facing the road?
I don't know because there's going to be a few.
There's just a lot of cameras. I think they're going to be looking around.
No, yeah, I just didn't know if you wanted to leave that.
Oh no, I don't care. I need the files with it, so like I will know what's
Little shimmy.
like the sugar.
Yeah,
Might need to
no.
might need to bend down.
John, you want to get in front of me?
Yeah, maybe some of you can go on.
Hey, Ben.
Huh?
What about you?
Yes.
Hey, Ben. I'm a little hungry. I like my lunch of
Sorry.
one orange.
I'm so sorry. Like,
Do you mind crouching maybe?
is it possible?
Can we all,
for you to
like,
move
take a
little
step
bit? Could
back,
we all
maybe?
take a step back?
I don't have a mic. Well, that.
I mean, like, I
sure,
also
but
only
mic.
have this one. So,
Am I in the shot? Zoom in a little bit.
like, I'm not. You're not in my shot, but you're not in my shot. But if you're not in my shot, I'm in their shot, and then it's a domino effect of us
Yes,
being in each
exactly.
other's shots.
You gotta step back.
I have my mic.
Well, you're screwing all the rest of us up, and we're here before you.
You have a mic I can borrow? Hey.
Huh?
You have a mic I can
No, you should have brought one.
I didn't know it was a press conference. I was still recovering.
If you didn't know it was a press conference, then you definitely need to back off because we knew.
We came here for the press conference.
But you don't. Am I in your shot?
What's that?
Am I in your shot?
I'm in their
No,
shot.
you're in her shot.
You're
and
in my
she's-
shot, and then
she
I'm
has
in
to get
their
ours.
shot because I have to. You have to not be in my shot, and I have to move. And that is a little bit of a problem. Maybe just if you stood like on the side like this, it's your.
Can't be in your shot.
It's not about you being in my shot. It's about like if I stand like this, I'm in their shot. If I stand like this, you are. I guess this is fine. This is fine for you like this.
Not really. Sorry.
Can you help me with this,
Yeah,
please?
with this guy.
Yeah.
Hey man, so you gotta you're screwing up like 5 people's shots right now.
And especially if you didn't know this was happening.
Yeah, if you didn't know this was happening, you
No,
really
I knew it was happening. I didn't know it was
Okay, so then
Okay, I'm
you
gonna
need to
just
come
stand
back
right
because
here.
the rest of us are here with us.
I'm just gonna stand right
Yeah,
here,
that's perfect.
and you can see if we can get a shot or not. But I'm gonna stand right here. Is that okay with you guys?
Yeah,
Does that work?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
I'm professional working in the same space. I want to learn.
Yes.
Today is a good day to learn.
I'm really like spreading everyone's shots.
Oh my god, you should put a pink beanie next to it.
I'm genuinely
Yeah, it's going that way.
Also, sometimes I think I call you June.
I guess I'm not on it today. Wait, I just want to say hi. I'm just gonna sit across the street. Yeah, just go do it. Are you guys on photo? He was like in the hour you have before, but am I like she used to be photo editor. I don't know, it's like she definitely wasn't around you were around, but she's like if you guys I love him being in it. I love that. Last photo editor. Was she what okay, so I'm just gonna sit right there. I might miss them though because the card's out.
Right now, there's
I think it's taking like a really like whirlwind
sound no video, you know.
like it's become like a like deep yeah, not so much like no, Amelia is Amelia's a long-term. Oh, fire! Like yeah, I love that we're talking about it. It's just every time I see you guys, I think of like because I was friends with spec photo people when I was in spec because I was in line. Yeah. So it was like photo, and that's so weird because we're friends. That's still like that. And the I and the A used to be friends before this agency, and then my editor in the A we never do. Oh god, now we don't hang out anymore. But that is very much the dynamic. So like photo is like this with below, and then like the I and like there's another one graphic, and then there's another thing I developed it with there, but it's called Spectrum now. And it's like yeah, Spectrum. Yeah, we're all like clustered. We're all just like oh hey, it's Iris. Oh fuck.
That's more exciting. What? I have no stage.
I wasn't here. I wasn't saying what I was saying.
It's fine. You're
No,
right.
I just am like so like interested. I'm just so curious what spec lore is like.
I'm about to tell you now.
I'm retired.
I know, but still. Groundhog Day.
I just ran right over from class. The first class I've been to.
I can put it.
What is that?
Do you want me to put it back? This is food.
Hey guys, is it possible to keep the sidewalk more clear? I think we need for safety to be able to get through in the middle.
Whoever this is,
That's mine.
excuse me, CBS?
No, right
Is there
here.
a mic?
No, it is.
I think that went through.
I have not seen any.
We don't have anything to.
Do you want it back there?
What's that? Yeah, if there's a way to connect it to the mic stand, I just don't know.
Yeah,
how it
I
works.
mean, does anyone have an extra mic clamp? No. Yeah, you might be able to see it between.
No, I don't think so. so because there's a thing. We can just hold it.
Okay, yeah.
We're just, is this working? It's gonna be really weird for our sound. Right? Because we're gonna have two sounds coming out. It's probably.
Do you want it back there?
And you guys are.
Do you want it behind them?
Well, people are. I don't know.
I think that might be best.
All the things. All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm going to provide a few laboratory remarks, and then we'll hand it off to 3 Jewish students and members of Columbia University Apartheid Divest, So, Sarah, and Leah. We will end by handing off to Mariana Hirsch, a faculty member at Columbia and member of the American Association of University Professors. Right now, Israel is brutally bombing and starving millions of Palestinians in Gaza, killing children.
Face the cameras.
Yes, sorry. Right now, Israel is brutally bombing and starving millions of Palestinians in Gaza, killing children, bombing homes, hospitals, and universities, murdering thousands of young students just like us. We are here today as Jewish Columbia and Barnard students who were arrested and suspended for peacefully protesting in support of Palestinian freedom on Thursday, April 18th. The students will be providing updates and answering questions on the ongoing Gaza solidarity protest on the campus West Lawn. Hundreds of us have been holding a peaceful protest on the lawn since April 17th. As students at Columbia, we have 3 demands. Divest all finances, including the endowment, from corporations that profit from Israeli apartheid, genocide, and occupation in Palestine. 2, provide financial transparency of all investments. And 3, ensure amnesty for all students and faculty arrested, disciplined, or fired in connection with the movement for Palestinian liberation. Last night, on Monday, April 22nd, Jewish students at Columbia participating in the Gaza Solidarity protest held a Passover Seder on the central campus West Lawn. We gathered to share a meal, pray, sing, and tell stories in observance of Passover, a Jewish holiday commemorating freedom from oppression. Students held signs that said Pesach means solidarity and liberation, and Jews for a Free Palestine, reading from a special Haggadah written in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. The students have much more to say than I do. I'm one of them, but they have more to continue the conversation, so I will now hand the mic to our first speaker, So, a Jewish student at Barnard, to make their remarks.
Do you mind scooting over so she can step behind the mic? Thank you so much.
We stand here before you today to speak to our truth as Jewish students alongside our Palestinian friends and allies. The truth. The moment NYPD's SRG unit emerged, zip ties in hand, at the beck and call of Columbia President Manoush Shafiq, our university normalized the use of violence to silence political dissent. In the midst of the militarized violence Columbia University invited, we must reaffirm the mission and principles of our movement. As we launched our Gaza Solidarity Encampment, Jewish students, including myself, gathered together and said the Shehecheyanu, the Jewish prayer used to mark joyous occasions. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of all, who has kept us alive, sustained us, and brought us to this season. Because we indeed are blessed. As the media spins language of violence and ignores our story, they reveal their ignorance of the reality of Jewish life by portraying the Jewish people as a monolith and erasing the stories of the thousands of us fighting for a free Palestine. When I was marched out of the encampment in zip ties, I did not flinch. I walked into a space of love and joy, of solidarity and liberation, expecting to be met with violence by the institution I call home, simply because I cannot and could not stand to be complicit in our university's ongoing support for Israel's genocidal campaign. There are no universities left in Gaza, so we chose to reclaim our university for the people of Palestine. We did so in the spirit of Rafat al-Arir, who reposted one of our protests just days before his slaughter. He said, "If I must die, you must live to tell my story. If I must die, let it bring hope. Let it be a tale." I was taught to always honor those who came before us, and I will fight to tell his story. Today marks 200 days since the beginning of Israel's genocidal campaign against the Palestinian people. When I linked arms with my peers, watching the right police swarm us, singing, "Where you go, I will go, my friend, because your people are my people, our struggles align," I remembered my bat mitzvah speech about God giving our people the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai. I asked, will you hear my message? Will you hear God's message? And I ask this to each and every one of you. Will you hear our message of solidarity as we enter the 200th day? Will you listen when I tell you that my Judaism is one of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world? Will you listen when I tell you to listen to those who represent our movement and those who stand in solidarity with it? Will you see our shared commitments to value all identities, all stories, and fight all forms of bigotry and hatred? Will you listen to our truth, or the truth of those who call us kapos, Judenrat, and dishonor our ancestors? Will you listen to the truth of those in Gaza, those who we fight for? Will you let Rafat's story be a tale? I speak to you during Passover, reminded of the legacy and bravery of our people against insurmountable odds, as well as the bigotry and violence we and our peers have faced, to tell you my story. I entered the Gaza Solidarity Encampment with my friends, peers, and allies, and became a student and a teacher. On the first day of the encampment, I hung the banners I painted painstakingly for weeks. I shared meals with my friends, read messages from my loved ones, listened to a Columbia professor teach me about the anti-apartheid movement, taught my peers about the meanings behind my prayers, and basked in the love of my community. While so many members of my Jewish community attempt to vilify me and the movement I stand a part of, I built a new community with my friends inside this camp. We built a new community. And as we built it, we committed to fighting all forms of oppression together, knowing that anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and racism, in particular racism against Arabs and Palestinians, are all cut from the same cloth. I asked the White House, Jewish members of Congress, and all those who speak on behalf of Jewish safety and the Jewish people to listen and hear our message, to hear the guidelines of our community. Come see our camp. Come to a Shabbat. Come break bread with us, or this week, break some matzah. Thank you.
Before you go, were you suspended from campus, and what were you actually arrested for?
Yes, so I was suspended from campus 3 hours before my arrest, along with 2 others of my peers, because I have been a vocal Jewish voice in the solidarity movement since early this year, and I was arrested on a violation for trespassing on my own campus.
Can you say your first and last?
Guys,
Can
can
you
we
spell
have
your name?
Or just your name? Can you
Okay.
spell it as well?
SOPH, which is my preferred name, and I will go by ASKANASE.
And can you pronounce it?
Soph Askanase.
Okay, guys, we're gonna do questions
They, them
afterwards.
pronouns.
We're gonna do. Thank you. We're gonna do questions afterwards.
You'll identify yourself.
Yeah. So
Give that information.
of course. So the next speaker is Sarah, a student at Barnard College, and all the speakers today were arrested and suspended from campus.
How many days were they suspended for?
It's indefinite, an interim suspension, indefinite.
My name is Sarah. That's spelled S-A-R-A-H. She, her pronouns. As I was preparing my Torah portion for my bat mitzvah, my father set aside time to teach me the anthem Solidarity Forever. It was an important lesson for any Jewish adult. He and my mother made sure that I knew being Jewish meant to join together with other oppressed people, because only collective liberation will keep us safe. That lesson of solidarity always extended to solidarity with the people of Palestine. The Gaza Solidarity Encampment is a reflection of the Jewish tradition of togetherness and liberation. I have never felt more proud to be Jewish and more in line with the values of my faith than when I was being taken out of Columbia's lawns with my hands zip-tied behind my back, alongside 107 other students, risking safety and suspension in order to push our university to divest from genocide, apartheid, and occupation in Palestine. In zip ties, I walked in the path of my Jewish ancestors, like my great-grandfather, who was part of the 1905 Russian Revolution. Like other Jews under the Tsarist regime, he was confined to the Pale of Settlement and experienced the constant threat of pogroms and the brutality of state violence. He risked his life to fight for a better world. I cannot, in good faith, honor his memory and ignore the checkpoints, the bombs, and the settler violence that Palestinians are subject to every single day. My college administration, my representatives in Congress, and my own president have continually acted as spokespeople for the Jewish community, equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. They silence us, suspend us, create barriers for us to practice our faith so that they can say that we are a fringe group or that we're not real Jews. But I know, we know, my family knows that anti-Zionist Jews have existed as long as Zionism has. From the Labor Bund to the Israeli Black Panthers, Jews have denied the notion that any form of nationalism can keep us safe. We have continually had to defend our religious identities, even when there is a long tradition behind them. We stand here before you to say, clearly, that this is a distraction. More than 30,000 Palestinians are dead, and 85% of the population of Gaza displaced. Our university profits off of this genocide, and as Jews, we will continue to fight until Columbia divests. Thank you.
Sarah, what's your last name?
Boris, B-O-R-U-S.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. So our next speaker is Leah, L-E-A, and I misspoke before, they were suspended but not arrested. They're going to come speak to us.
When I, as an Iranian Jewish daughter of 3 generations of genocide survivors, stand shoulder to shoulder with my Palestinian peers, chanting, it is because I feel their struggle in the struggle of my ancestors. I am risking my livelihood, my status in this country, and the respect and support of my family to fight for Palestine because I know, based on my entire upbringing and my education, that this is the justice my ancestors were calling for, the justice their struggles have necessitated. I spent my entire life reckoning with the trauma that has been passed down through my ancestry. I spent my entire life, but all I know is that the answer to generational trauma is not the subjugation and dehumanization of another traumatized people in our name. I see the trauma of Palestinians mirrored in my own family's experiences, recognizing it as part of the same exact system. I see that the same pain that we are witnessing now is not the fault of any of us. Witnessing the trauma of Palestinians is excruciating, especially when recognizing how our own families have been complicit in perpetuating a distortive narrative and revisionist history whereby Palestinians are made to be our aggressors because they have been subjugated to the same repression that our Jewish ancestors have been for generations. There is so much deep-seated grief in Jewish communities, but we cannot allow the slaughter of another people as a result of this generational trauma. This is not a game to us. It is the most serious matter. When people label us a blind, violent mob, when people call us capos, when they say that we will be on the last train to Auschwitz, it means dividing me, ripping me from my identity. It means reducing Judaism down to some rich guy's political agenda. It means telling me that my existence is inherently isolating when I cannot and refuse to ignore the legacy of my ancestry, and neither will my Palestinian brothers and sisters. I urge you to see my experience. No matter how hard the president's PR campaign and the state of Israel tries to pretend, I am the Jewish future. As someone who was taught to love the state of Israel from my birth, this is what unlearning generational trauma looks like. I am an inconvenience to the PR campaign that is the state of Israel. Allowing ourselves to envision alternative Jewish futures is terrifying, but it is the only option. I will not let my Jewish community stay silent silent in the face of this point in our history. Dehumanization, exile, and genocide have no religion, have no race, and have no logic. I have woken up to the urgency, and I believe that all Jews everywhere must do the same. Palestinian solidarity is inevitable and necessary to salvage life, to preserve culture, to uphold generations, and to put an end to this excruciating generational trauma where every side loses. More than 15 Jewish students were arrested, suspended, and evicted as punishment for protesting on their own campus, for singing songs of love and liberation, for Columbia's divestment in a free Palestine. We, as Jewish students, have willingly and proudly put everything we have on the line because our vision is unclouded. We understand the immense and profound interconnectedness of it all, of us all. We grasp with unwavering clarity that the only possible Jewish future lies in unmoving solidarity with Palestine.
Can you spell your first name?
Leah is L-E-A, and I think that they don't want to share their last name.
It's still Soap, his last name.
So you
Help us out here.
Thank you. It's very Jewish, sorry.
very Jewish.
A-S-K-A-N-A-S-E.
A-S-E.
And
Thank you. And just to clarify, Soph and Sarah, you were both arrested.
Yeah.
And Leah was not arrested but suspended.
That's right.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we're going to hear briefly from Mahmoud, M-A-H-M-O-U-D. Mahmoud. Mahmoud is a student at Columbia and a member of the Palestinian community here.
Thank you, everyone. I will make a very brief comment. We are here to affirm that we believe that the struggle to achieve liberation, Palestinian and Jewish liberation, is intertwined and goes hand by hand. And after all, this is a movement of equality, social justice, and liberation for Palestine and the rest of the world. Thank you.
Columbia administrators gave a press conference and they said that you guys have been in talks with the administration till 2 a.m. trying to come to a resolution. Is anybody able to speak to how that is going on your side of the...
We can comment on that at the end. We have one last speaker.
Oh,
That's
I'm
okay?
sorry.
Yeah.
I thought...
No worries, no worries. We're all figuring this out as we go. We have one last speaker. Professor Mariana Hirsch is a professor here at Columbia University and a member of AAUP, or the American Association of University Professors.
Good afternoon. My name is Mariana Hirsch, M-A-R-I-A-N-N-E-H-I-R-S-C-H. I'm here to speak as a faculty member at Columbia University and specifically as a Jewish faculty member. One of my fields of specialization is Holocaust studies, and I am myself a daughter of Holocaust survivors. I'm extremely concerned about anti-Semitism. I have been my entire life. And I'm extremely distressed right now to see how anti-Semitism is being weaponized and misused in the under the guise of safety and security, but actually in the interest of shutting down academic freedom, free debate, critical thinking, and the openness and the independence of higher education and universities in the United States right now. Squashing peaceful protest, squashing open debate, not allowing students to express their opinions and to debate their opinions, bringing armed police onto campus, surrounding the campus by gates and armed police, creates an atmosphere, arresting students, suspending them, creates an atmosphere of fear and intimidation in which some people are afraid to tell you their names. This is not what the university is about. This amplifies divisions among students, among Jewish students, among students of all kinds at our university. We are a very multicultural, diverse community, and each of the identity categories that we have here is in itself diverse. We have, as you can see, we have many Jewish Jewish students who are part of the protest movement, and we are afraid that their voices are not heard. I think that weaponizing anti-Semitism in this way, singling out Jewish students, only certain Jewish students who are expressing fear that's being amplified and being promoted from the outside, is a way of, is not making Jewish students or faculty or Jews in this country safe. On the contrary, it is promoting further division and probably further anti-Semitism. As a member of the American Association of University Professors, I would like to read the declaration that we all adopted yesterday, the AAUP chapters at Barnard and Columbia. We condemn in the strongest possible terms the administration's suspension of students engaged in peaceful protest and their arrest by the New York City Police Department. These acts violate the letter and the spirit of the university statutes, shared governance, students' rights, and the university's absolute obligation to defend students' freedom of speech and to ensure their safety. We demand that all Barnard College and Columbia University suspensions and charges be dismissed immediately and expunged from the students' records, and that all rights and privileges be restored to them immediately. Last, we demand that no disciplinary action be taken against any student protesters without due process, and that no police be permitted on campus without serious consultation with the executive committee of the University Senate. And please let's not forget that this is a movement that's a political movement. It criticizes the state of Israel. It is not directed against an identity, which is Jewishness, or a faith, which is Jewishness. It is directed at a state. We cannot be a sustainable educational institution if we're not allowed to criticize states, including our own state. Thank you.
Professor, could I ask you a follow-up question? Is that okay? Just as an academic who has studied Judaism and made this part of your career, you observe what is going on campus. Do you see anti-Semitism there, as people have claimed, or do you not see anti-Semitism?
Well, it's not a yes or no question. There are certainly some incidents that I would call anti-Semitic, but there are many racist incidents on campus. There are sexist, there are homophobic incidents on campus. There's all sorts. Unfortunately, we're in a country that has a lot of bias, and children learn bias in school, so that bias exists. What I'm seeing on campus is also a lot of incidents that are anti-Muslim, anti-Palestinian, and I don't think we've paid attention to that. That's what I meant by singling out one group or one part of the group.
Thank you.
Professor, sorry, I have a question. Is it your feeling or is it your understanding that perhaps some of the actions against the students and suspensions and as well as calling the police on campus could be politically motivated, especially after the congressional hearings?
Yes, I do believe that these bringing police onto campus, actually waiting just a day, less than 48 hours after the encampment was set up, not allowing a time for negotiations or discussions. I'm old enough to have been part of other student movements, including the anti-war in Vietnam movement, and as a faculty member, the anti-apartheid struggles. I've been in shanties. I mean, it takes time to talk and discuss, and I think allowing protests to take place as long as it's peaceful is just part of education. So I cannot but agree that this is motivated by trying to pacify congressional members who are trying to interfere in the running of this university, and at this point all universities.
So we have 15 minutes for questions of anybody who's spoken so far, and then true to the topic, they have to run to a Seder. If you guys have questions, sure, students are eager to answer. Yeah, you want to come up here?
That's my question from earlier, just regarding talks with administration, if anybody is involved in those talks, and how would you characterize that going on your end?
So we have been involved in direct negotiations with Columbia administration since Friday evening. These are very long negotiations happening between the members of the university, senior members of the university administration, and people representing the Columbia apartheid divest movement on campus.
Is there anything you would say about how they're going? I
So
understand
we're moving in good faith. We're making progress. We cannot comment on the details of these negotiations as of now. There's no offer on the table. We're discussing everything. Our demands are clear. At the end of the day, we are a movement to push Colombia to divest from the Israeli occupation that's now committing a genocide in Gaza.
Mahmoud, could you share your last name and your position with the committee?
So Mahmoud Khalil, Khalil. My first name is Mahmoud, not Muhammad, because yesterday a few media outlets got it as Muhammad.
Can you spell the first name?
Mahmoud.
And you're affiliated with the
So I'm the lead negotiator with members of the Quad Columbia University of
The Columbia students.
And the Columbia students, of course.
Or, sorry, graduate or undergrad?
Grad.
Thanks.
All three students leave from Barnard, or you guys from Columbia?
It's a mix.
So, hold on. The three students are Barnard students. I also am a Columbia student here. I'm a Columbia student who is Jewish and was arrested.
But all three suspended.
Yes. Correct. Yeah.
So on that note, for the Barnard students, I understand that the college president has offered to lift the interim suspensions in exchange for following the Barnard rules, including presumably no longer continuing with the encampment. What's the impact of suspensions? Have you lost your housing? And what's your response to that offer on the table?
So I did lose my housing. I was outside of my dorm, in fact, when I got the notice, so I was not able to return or get my things. I had to immediately find a place to stay. I am not allowed in any dining halls as well, because according to the email, I'm considered disruptive to the safety and community of campus because of my arrest.
Quick follow-up. You had said you had lost access to your dining hall. Did you pay for a meal plan by any chance?
I did pay for a meal plan.
And how much was that?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Too much.
That is true.
If you could just answer what your response is to that offer, coming from lifting your suspension
We are carefully considering the offer and debating what our next steps will be. All of these suspended students are in communication together, and we firmly believe that we must act as a unified group.
Professor, you mentioned that you were here for the Studies and Association, right?
No, I wasn't. I was a student at the time
Yeah,
at
that's-
Brown University.
at
I wasn't
Brown
at Columbia, yeah.
But how does it make you feel this happening now in the context of what happened in 1968?
Well, I mean, I was actually in the class of 1970, where in April pretty much this was happening, protests, and we were on strike, and eventually we disrupted graduation. I mean, it was just not possible watching what was happening in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Kent State to continue business as usual. And I think we're at a point when students, protesters, faculty, people around the world are feeling that what is happening in Gaza is unbearable and that they have to act. That, I think at this point, we have much more attention on what's happening on American campuses than what is actually happening politically. And I think that is also very, very problematic.
Yeah, sorry. I had a question for the suspended students. On what grounds were you suspended? What was the specific language?
Some of the charges that we were met with were disrupting pedestrian and vehicular traffic or sitting on a lawn. And as my comrade mentioned, posing a threat to the campus community.
Technically, under the Barnard Rules of Conduct, an interim suspension is a charge for posing a threat to the campus community or yourself, which is how our own college has labeled us. We are threats to the community for sitting on Butler lawns.
Question for any of the students, actually, and if you don't mind stepping up to the microphone. When other Jewish students on campus say they feel threatened, they feel that they're in danger, they've been advised to leave campus because they are in danger, what do you think about that? I mean, what's your reaction to that sentiment? And if you don't mind stepping up to the...
I think it's very important to remember that being uncomfortable is different than being unsafe. Months ago, I was sprayed with a noxious chemical on this campus. Multiple of my friends were hospitalized following the attack. I was bedridden for a couple days, and I felt extremely unsafe on my own campus. I feel unsafe when Columbia professors like Shai Davidai tell me I'll be on the last train to Auschwitz and then try to get into my university. And I think I empathize with individuals who feel uncomfortable with certain rhetoric, but I remind you that we live in a country and we go to attend a university that extremely values free speech, open dialogue, and rhetoric, and I would encourage everyone to listen to a variety of perspectives and to analyze what it means to not like something or disagree with something versus to actively be in a position of being unsafe. Because when you are arrested, dragged out in zip ties, and have red marks on your wrists for days after the fact, when you have a seizure in jail, like one of my friends did, when you have an asthma attack in jail, when you have your wrist dislocated, that is what being unsafe is.
You just repeated it. You mentioned some slurs that I'm hesitant to repeat myself that have been thrown at you. Is it just this one professor you just mentioned? Where have you heard this from? And then I also had a question just on the for those who've been evicted. Is Barnard and Columbia, are they, to your understanding, compliant with New York housing law and eviction law? Is that something you're looking into? I was just curious about your understanding of that.
I'll speak briefly. I've been called a capo many times in the last couple of months. I have never been called a Judenrat, which I deem as particularly disgusting, and I have not been told that I would be on the last train of Auschwitz. Many of us have families who are Holocaust survivors, and I think that, especially coming from a professor on a campus, this is one of the most hurtful things. I know that some of us have been called disgraces. I've been called self-hating. I've been called neurotic, and I'll pass it along to my friends who have had these same experiences.
Yeah, I think the slurs being thrown from either side are egregious, but often the experience of anti-Zionist Jews and Palestinians especially is left out of the equation. These slurs, I myself, and I can only imagine how my Palestinian peers feel, have been racially profiled, harassed on the streets. Barnard students' hijabs have been pulled off of them. They've been questioned. The anti-Muslim hatred has not been acknowledged in any certain terms by this university, and I find it unacceptable that this unilateral focus from the press, and most of the targeting that I've experienced, almost all of it, has actually come from my supposed Jewish community who have abandoned and excluded many of us on the basis of our political convictions. So it is our own who are labeling us as disgraces, and these are some of the most hurtful and deeply anti-Semitic remarks that I've ever been on the other side of.
So on eviction, the answer is we do believe that many of the evictions have not been legal. Certainly for previous eviction notices that went out with less than 24 hours prior to all of this, some of them went to students in graduate student housing, which are like normal apartments. They're covered by very firm election protections. That's a different problem. very different eviction protections. And so those certainly we believe to be illegal. We're consulting with lawyers about all of the evictions, and we'll see how it unfolds. But we believe that Columbia's done many illegal things, if not to say unscrupulous things, in the last week. And I also want to briefly say something about the slurs. I think it's really important to remember that we're all here in support of our Palestinian siblings and talk about the genocide in Gaza. Slurs are disturbing, but ultimately this is a distraction from what's most important, which is that people are dying every single day. And I think I and many of the other Jewish students here are disturbed that the media is so much more eager to talk about the experience of Jewish students than the experience of first Palestinian students, and second, the experience of people in Gaza who are dying. And we're putting ourselves at risk because we want you to focus on that and to focus on Columbia's culpability in that. So we would welcome more questions about the experience of Palestinians on this campus as well. This is not ultimately about the Jewish experience.
Sorry, could you say your name and spell it for us, please?
Sarah, S-A-R-A-H. Multiple Sarahs.
Are there any
that
Palestinian...
question is, I agree with, it's a good question, and if anyone wants to...
Are there any Palestinian students here who want to speak
We have a number of Palestinian students here. I don't know if they're comfortable speaking right now, so...
You want to?
Of course. So as a Palestinian student at Columbia, I too did not feel safe for the past 6 months. And that was as a direct result of Columbia's one-sided statements and inaction to any of our concerns. We've been called names, whether about us being Palestinians, about us being Arabs, about us just being pro-Palestine. What we're facing here is anti-Palestinian hate that's taking multiple forms, whether it is Islamophobia, racism, anti-Semitism, and all. Yet Colombia has not acknowledged this pain, the pain of the Palestinian community at Colombia, that are calling for the end of the genocide in Gaza.
I know that some students may have contingent livelihood in the United States. Perhaps your visa depends on your being a student. So can you talk about some of the risks that Palestinian students and other international students take in speaking out and being vocal on this?
Of course, I'm here on an F1 visa. That's why for the past 6 months I barely appeared on media, even when it comes to that's why I'm not suspended, by the way, because I did not participate, fearing that I will be arrested and ultimately deported from this country. And this is why a lot of the Palestinian students here, they feel very uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable participating and protesting the genocide of their people. That's why we are very grateful for everyone on campus for protesting on our behalf.
And what would happen to you if you were deported?
I will live. We will continue to live. The Palestinian people have been under occupation, ethnic cleansing, and all sorts of crimes since 1948. And we prevailed. We will prevail no matter what will happen.
Where are you from, and if you don't mind me asking?
So I'm a Palestinian refugee. I'm from a town, an occupied town in Palestine. I was born and raised in a refugee camp in southern Damascus, Syria.
We can take maybe one more question if anyone has it, and then I think that's it. Yeah.
What do you think of Columbia's response to
Well, there has been a professor, the professor that called us Udenrat and Kapos, Shai Davidai, who, as Manu Shafiq said, in her testimony in Congress that he has had over 50 complaints, and the university has done very little except for barring him from entering campus the other day. that shows that they know that he is a threat to students, that he is putting students in danger, and yet he remains teaching at this university, and yet we're sitting on a lawn the other day. We were suspended. We were arrested. This professor is actually doxing students. He is putting students in danger, and the university needs to take far more action than what they are doing now, because there is a clear discrepancy in the way that we are being treated and the way that this adult is being treated.
Sorry, I have just one more question. What are you all in communication with other groups on other campuses? What's that solidarity communication like?
Recently, I had the privilege and the pleasure to speak to over 200 of my colleagues across various campuses, and we all discussed what the future of this movement would look like. We compared demands, we compared the repressive environments, and we all shared a similar sentiment that we would not stop, we will not rest until our universities divested from genocide, divested from apartheid, divested from occupation. We all share the same spark, and we all understand that the youth will lead this movement. We are the next generation, and we do not stand for hatred, we do not stand for bigotry, we do not stand for violence. And as a Jewish student, and the Jewish groups I've been communicating with, we do not stand for this in our name.
Thank you all very much.
Thanks, guys. So that's it. If anybody needs any kind of follow-up information, come talk to me and I can connect you with people. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Missing sunglasses? Anybody?
So, who's a good? I mean, I'd like to gather as much sort of contact info as I'm able to gather. If any of the speakers would, I'm trying to get out.
I'm a good point of contact to help connect you with people. What publication are you with?
Sorry, Jonathan Allen from Reuters.
Okay, great. I can give you an email address, and if it's okay, I'll just take down yours as well.
Yeah, sure.
So you can email quadpress@gmail.com. It's CUAD, not Q. So
oh, I'm sorry.
Columbia University Apartheid Divest.
Oh, of course.
Yep.
Yeah.
So